Hello, my name's Emily and welcome to What I Read in 2025. I love watching these videos, so I figured why not make one of my own. One of my goals for 2026 is to get out of my comfort zone, so this is what I'm doing. This will be a spoiler-free What I Read in 2025 video, so if you love watching these videos as much as I do, then I'd love for you to stay and see what I read. Okay, book number 1. I wrote this one. I didn't read nearly as many books as I wanted to this year because I was writing my own debut novel. I did self-publish it, so if you want to support an indie author, get it on Amazon, get it free on Kindle Unlimited. I will have all of the info in the description below. I published this book on August 1st. It's called Promises of August. It is a friends to lovers type of book trope, I guess you could say. Takes place at Orange Beach, Alabama. It's inspired by trips that my sister and I used to take with our grandparents every summer. Summer will be here before you know it, and this is a very easy, quick beach read if you are interested. I'm going to do this in no particular order, but I have to state that these two books right here are probably like my top 3 books of the year. I started The Inheritance Game this year. This is definitely a 5 out of 5 book, as well as the second one. I still need the third one. The first book is called The Inheritance Games. The second book is called The Hawthorne Legacy. Again, this is spoiler free, but I will still give you a little bit of information. This follows the main character, Avery. She comes into a bunch of money, like billions of dollars, because this billionaire who passed away left everything to her in his will, and she's never even met him. She moves into his estate, which is huge, starts going to a new like preppy school, and all of the Hawthorne brothers live in the house. It basically follows her as she's trying to figure out her connection to the Hawthorne and their legacy. It follows her relationship with all of the brothers. There's like secret passageways in the estate. It's very much like a treasure hunt type of vibe, mystery, because you're trying to figure out what her connection is. And then there's also just her relationship with all of the brothers and how they progress. It basically mixes every genre I love into one book. And the thing that I love the most about these books is that you fly through them because the chapters are like 4 to 5 pages long. I mean, I read this book in like 3 days, and it's just super easy to get through. So I definitely recommend these books. Usually I struggle with reading about people who are of high school age, but this is not a struggle at all. The characters are very well rounded. Each character has a very different personality, and it's written very well. And yeah, I definitely think you should read these in 2026 if you haven't yet. The next book on my list is called The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. This is a book I had never heard of before. I spent about 2 hours in a bookstore one day just wanting to really find a book on my own without the influence of social media. I'm so glad I picked this one up. This book I also flew through. Basically, it follows this writer who lives on this place called Clock Island. And he's a famous writer. He's written a lot of children's books. And basically there's a final manuscript of his last novel that he's written, but he's not allowing anyone to see it. He invites a few of the children, who are now grown adults, to Clock Island. He brings all of these people to compete in a bunch of different games to win the manuscript, the very last one. And it follows the main character as she is trying to win this manuscript, and there are reasons that she really wants it and needs it. And then there's also a subplot romance with the guy who illustrated these books and has lived on Clock Island with the aging author as he's gotten older and kind of become an illustrator but also caretaker. It's not a long book at all. It is super good, easy to fly through, and honestly, it just is whimsical. And honestly, it was kind of nostalgic for me to read because it was similar to the books I loved to read as a child, just like more mature. If you are looking for a good book to escape to that's easy to fly through, and romance is not like the main plot, but there's still a little bit in there for you, I definitely recommend The Wishing Game. The next book I want to talk about is If It Makes You Happy by Julie Olivia. This is definitely a book that was influenced from TikTok, and I did love it. However, it just took forever to get through. This is a thick book for a kind of rom-com. I prefer them to be short and sweet. If you love Gilmore Girls, which obviously I do, you would love this book. It follows the main character, who, I forgot her name because I read it a while ago, but she basically resembles Lorelai. You can tell by the cover. It looks like Stars Hollow, and it follows her as she moves home after her mother's passing to run her inn, and her next door neighbor offers to help. He is a baker. He is the main guy in this picture right here. And also the dog has a very prominent character as well. And overall, it was very good. It wasn't too cheesy, which is good because honestly, when rom-coms get super cheesy, I just find myself cringing my way through. But I didn't really cringe in this one. It just took forever to get through. So I definitely recommend this book, but just know that it's not a quick read. I'm gonna put these two books together, not because they're similar, but because I just really didn't enjoy them. I also read It Happened One Fight by Maureen Lee Linker. I'm probably saying that wrong. Apparently it was made into a movie. It follows two like A-list celebrity actors who live in Hollywood and are known for starring as each other's love interests in movies, but they hate each other. And it's like basically all big one misunderstanding that lasts for years as to why they hate each other. I can't remember. It takes place in like the 60s or 50s, I think. I felt like this whole book was just them running around in circles and just avoiding having an adult conversation. It didn't do it for me. I had to basically like force myself to read this book because I was determined to finish it and I spent money on it, so I didn't want to waste my money. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't recommend this book. Emily Henry describes it as her perfect read, which kind of shocked me. I feel like this is not similar to Emily Henry books at all, but it just wasn't for me. And that also brings me to The Christmas Tree Farm. Last year I read The Pumpkin Spice Cafe. Saying that out loud, honestly, it sounds like what it is. It's very much a cheesy rom-com. This is part of the Dream Harbor series, so all of the books by Laurie Gilmore take place in Dream Harbor. Honestly, I think this will be my last one I read. I enjoyed the first book of hers that I read last year a little bit, but this one, the romance is a little too forced for me. The cover of these books is what does it for me and makes me really want to read it, but it just doesn't deliver for me. So I definitely wouldn't recommend this one, but you can always try it for yourself. Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. I actually really liked this book. It's a good summer read. It basically follows this girl and this guy who both feel like their relationships are the ones that people have before they find the one, so they're kind of always just left behind. I think I really enjoy her writing. I didn't enjoy the plot as much as other books, however her writing, it just really invites you in and it makes you root for the characters even if you don't love exactly what's going on. I wouldn't read it again, but I'm glad I did read it. Next we have A Novel Love Story by Ashley Poston. I wasn't sure I was going to love this book. I had to give it a try because everyone on TikTok was raving about it and I absolutely loved this book. Ashley Poston writes a lot of magical realism, which is basically where everything in the book is pretty much like normal day-to-day life, but something magical is going on. It's just not the main plot. It's kind of very normalized. This girl is in a book club and she ends up on an off-beaten path on the way to a cabin where she's going to read, and she ends up getting lost, basically trapped in the town of her favorite novel. And she's meeting all of the characters from the novel, but there's this one guy who was not in the novels who lives in the town as well. And he's the only other one aware that he is living in this novel. Basically, she gets to know all the characters and the plot starts to unravel a little bit as she kind of becomes this new character that the characters are interacting with. There is a lot that happens at the end of the book that is revealed about the guy who was in the novel town with her. The romance is not cringy and it's also not the main plot, which I like. The main plot really is her trying to figure out what she wants for herself, what she wants out of life, and what to do about this novel town that she's found herself in. I really loved this book because it talks a lot about writing. The main character really appreciates good writing, cares about books a lot, as do I, and she really has a lot to say about the author who wrote the books that she is stuck in. It's just a quick, good book that lets you escape from reality, but also like kind of encourages you to follow your dreams a little bit. I definitely would recommend. The next book I want to talk about is The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren. I loved this book. 6 out of 5 stars. This book I read at the beach. I highly recommend doing that if you can. If you love the book or the movie Crazy Rich Asians, you will love this book. It basically follows a fake marriage. They are married for a specific reason that you find out in the beginning. They end up having to go to this tropical like island place vacation for a wedding, together and basically convince their whole family that they're married. The main guy is very wealthy, but he wants to have his own life apart from his family. Again, very Crazy Rich Asians-esque, but it is just, it's so good. The romance is good, the plot is good, the characters are well written, the drama is interesting and fun. I flew through this book, and honestly, I think I would read this book again, which says a lot. 6 out of 10 would recommend. Next, we have another Abby Jimenez book, Say You'll Remember Me. Very cute cover. Everyone was raving about it. I honestly didn't love it. I found myself cringing quite a bit through this book, and I hate giving bad reviews. I think this book could be enjoyable for a lot of people. I just found it a little too juvenile for me. The romance just felt very forced and very fast and very unrealistic and just cringy. Like, I don't know. It didn't really do it for me, but it was a quick read. I did get through it pretty fast because she's just a good writer, but I didn't necessarily enjoy the plot, the characters, the outcome really. So yeah. Next we have Summer in the City by Alex Astor. Basically, she's a screenwriter and she needs a lot of inspiration for what she's gonna write next. And she moves to New York City, she meets this billionaire, and they basically like go all over New York City experiencing all of the New York typical things together so that she can get inspiration for her next script, which I think is set in New York. There's been a lot of mixed reviews with this book. The romance is really fast and forced. I will say I agree with that. It doesn't really feel realistic and it feels a little forced, but I loved it. Not the romance necessarily, but I loved the book because I just love New York and it was just fun to read about all of the New York things. I didn't hate the characters, I just didn't really like their story together, but I did enjoy reading it. I just think the romance was a little forced. So it's a good, easy read, easy escape. If you like New York, if you like the city life, if you like to read about it or be immersed in it, I would recommend it. Just know that the romance is not going to be some great epic thing that you read. It's pretty forced, but it is a cute book. This was her first romance book that she's ever written. She actually writes the Lightlark series, which is more of a fantasy dystopian type of book, which I have not read yet, but it's on my TBR for this year. But yeah. Next we have One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune. This takes place in the same world as one of her other books. I think it's This Summer Will Be Different. I could be wrong. She has a lot of books that are basically like friends to lovers on a lake in the summer, but this follows a character from one of her other books. He's the main character, Charlie, and I honestly really like this book. It follows a character, Alice, who used to spend summers at a cottage, and she would always see Charlie and his family because they shared the lake. Basically, she goes back for the summer to help her grandmother, and Charlie is there and he wants to help and stuff, and it follows her as she figures out what she wants to do with her life regarding her photography. And Charlie is just basically kind of always there, and Alice is very guarded and career driven, but there's just something about Charlie, something about being on the lake. I definitely would say that this is not a cringy romance. The characters feel very real. It doesn't feel forced, and it is just a very good escape if you are looking for a good summer, I'd say more young adult romance than rom-com necessarily. I love Carly Fortune. Honestly, there's not been a book of hers that I haven't loved. I definitely would recommend. Next, we have Emily Henry, Great Big Beautiful Life, the big anticipated book of hers for 2025 that a lot of people did not like, and I was one of those people. I think it was very well written. Emily Henry knows how to write characters, that's for sure, but the plot was just like, I don't know. I don't even want to spend time explaining the plot just because I don't really remember much of it, because when I was done, I was like, thank God I'm done. Don't get me wrong, I love Emily Henry, I love her other books. This one just, it just under-delivered for me. Over-promised and under-delivered. You can give it a read for yourself if you want to give it a chance, but if you're looking for a rom-com or a good escape or a book that helps you like stop thinking, this is definitely not the book. Next we have a nonfiction book, which is shocking, The Third Gilmore Girl by Kelly Bishop. She plays Emily Gilmore in Gilmore Girls. Again, I love Gilmore Girls. I actually have a Luke's coffee mug right here. Love that show. It is my escape. This is basically her memoir. She writes about her time on Gilmore Girls, her time in New York City, her time coming into her acting career. There's a lot of pictures. She talks about relationships, hardships, and it's just amazing and a great insight to one of my favorite characters ever. So yeah, definitely recommend this book. Now we are on to the Kindle. I read the Selection series by Kiera Cass. There's 3 main books and then 2 kind of like sequel books that I didn't really have interest in reading, but the first 3 books are so good. I flew through them. It's very dystopian. It follows this girl. Everyone has a class that they are born into, but the prince, who is a 1, which is like the elites, is looking for his wife, and it's basically a televised show where all of these people from different casts come and live in the palace and they date the prince, and it's like The Bachelor but like dystopian and royalty. It's just fun. It's really fun. Again, there's 3 books, so it kind of happens over the course of 3 books, and there's a bunch of different characters. There's drama. Again, it's like The Bachelor but dystopian, and it's just really fun. So definitely would recommend that book to you. I also read The Last Letter by Rebecca Yarros. I don't really get emotional when I read books, but this book actually made me tear up. It's incredibly well written. It follows a mom who has 2 kids. She's single. I read it a while ago, so I can't really remember every single detail, but her brother is in war and he dies in war, and his best friend from the war kind of becomes a pen pal for her, and he ends up coming and helping her, and there's a lot of secrets that are kind of unburied. There's a lot of high stakes. There's a lot of kind of hard issues when it comes to just things that happen in life. I don't want to give too many spoilers, but just know if you're looking for a nice, fun rom-com, that's not what you're gonna get with The Last Letter. It definitely kind of pulls at your heartstrings, takes you on an emotional roller coaster, but it was so well written, so good. Okay, I also read A Court of Thorns and Roses. I read the entire series up until A Court of Silver Flames. I think that's the next one I still have to read. I love the books. I don't think I need to explain. If you made it this far into the video, you obviously know about the book world and you know about ACOTAR, and I love the books. I don't really care for some of the descriptions in the books, but the plot is amazing. I love the characters. I have to brace myself for A Court of Silver Flames. People have told me it's kind of a roller coaster, and it's a big book. I literally don't own any of the physical copies. I have to read it on my Kindle because having the physical book is just too intimidating, and I feel like I'll never pick it up because of how big it is. But love that series. I'll probably finish it this year, and I'll have all of my ratings of these books on Goodreads, and I'll have that linked in the description as well if you want to follow me there. The last book I'm going to talk about is Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. I think that's how you say it. Not to end this on a less than 5-star read, but this book was so, in my opinion, so overhyped. The romance made me cringe just for how much hype and talk this book got. I expected so much more, but it felt so forced, and the romance and the characters just didn't do it for me. I was like actually cringing reading it, but a lot of people do love this book. So again, this is just my opinion. If you loved this book, I'm glad you loved it because I went into it with really high expectations. So maybe I just need to go into books, even if they are very popular on social media, I need to go into books without forming opinions before I read them, because that one just didn't do it for me. I can't not talk about the Bible. I also read the Bible this year, not the entire Bible, but hopefully by the end of 2026 I would have finished it. But I did study the Bible along with the Bible recap by Tara Lee Cobble. If you are a Christian, if you are curious about the Bible just because you've never read it before, or if you have a goal to read it, or whatever your reason may be to read the Bible at all, I definitely recommend the Bible recap because the Old Testament is so hard to understand. Honestly, this goes through the Bible chronologically, and it really sums up and kind of honestly dumbs down the chapters that you're assigned to read each day. And I understand a lot more about the Old Testament than I ever have. So I couldn't not include this duo because this is quite a dynamic duo, if I do say so myself. All right, that is all for what I read in 2025. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope maybe you got some book recommendations. I would love to be friends with you on Goodreads, so give me a follow down below. Check out my other socials. Check out my book. Again, summer's coming up and it is a great quick summer read. But yeah, hope you enjoyed. My name's Emily and I'll see you in my monthly reads.